Stalkers, Hunters, Scouts, the unseen blade and the perfect shot. Hunters are the fastest and most precise of the three classes. They use speed, agility and stealth to overcome their foes. Hunters wield the light purely offensively, destroying their foes with blazing solar energy or vicious arc lightning. Hunters begin with the Gunslinger subclass, unlocking Blade Dancer at level 15 and Night Stalker at level 25. What's on YouTube? It's PTT coming at you with another Destiny video, and today's video, guys, as I'm sure you can tell, carries on the beginner's guide to Destiny. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Hunter subclasses. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it and look at the Gunslinger. Okay, Gunslinger is the first subclass you will unlock with a Hunter, and actually one of my preferred subclasses for PvP. So up first then we have the Incendiary Grenade. An explosive grenade that catches enemies on fire, causing additional damage over time. Now, we kind of touched on the DOT in the Striker subclass video, but I will go into it in a lot more depth in a later episode. Moving on then, we have the Swarm Grenade. A grenade which detonates on impact, releasing multiple drones that seek nearby enemies. Now, I actually love the Swarm Grenade. It's one I use quite often in the Crucible as well, because you can throw it at doors, it kind of spreads up like a web, and then anyone that kind of comes near to it, it tracks them, kind of like mini Galahorn Wolfpack rounds. I know, guys, you probably don't know what Galahorn Wolfpack rounds are, but if you do, they work in a very similar fashion. And third, we have the Trip Mine Grenade, an explosive grenade that sticks to surfaces and detonates when enemies pass through its laser trigger. They're not too bad. Unfortunately, Trip Mines did take a nerf very recently, hence that kind of forced me back to using the Swarm Grenade. Next on the list then, we have the Gunslinger Jumps. So first of all, you have the Double Jump. Jumps a second time after leaving the ground. Okay, very usual. It's the same as the Striker. Next, we have the Better Control. Upgrades Double Jump for better directional control while in the air. Thirdly, we have Triple Jump. Upgrades Double Jump with a third jump. Now, this is personally what I use on the Gunslinger class. If you play as a Hunter, guys, compared to a Titan, you will know that the jumps aren't anywhere near as good. Okay, Titans definitely have the best jumps, followed up by the Warlock, and then, in my opinion, the jumping on the Hunters are kind of last unless you start playing PvP a lot. Then you're going to want to be looking at things like Blink, but we will cover that when we get onto Blade Dancer. And finally, on the jump side, you have Higher Jump. Upgrades Double Jump for even greater height. There are some situations where you'll want to swap these around. I definitely do. I swap from Triple Jump to Higher Jump, but not that often. It's more kind of PvE. Then we move on to the Gunslinger Super. This is called a Golden Gun. Summon a flaming pistol which disintegrates enemies with solar light. Very, very powerful in both PvE and PvP. Moving on to the kind of modifications you can change your Golden Gun around with then. Firstly, we have Deadeye. Significantly increases the accuracy and damage of Golden Gun. This is something I run very often. I tend not to swap my Golden Gun around too much, but if you do want to swap it around, you need to know what there are. So next we have Combustion. Killing enemies with Golden Gun cause them to explode. This can be useful in PvE situations. It can be useful in PvP in game modes like Control. If you hit one enemy on a flag and there's a couple too close, you can also damage them as well. And thirdly, you have Gunfighter. Reduces the cooldown of Golden Gun, allowing it to be used more often. Now, I've never actually timed this to see how much of a difference it makes, so if any of you do, hit me up in the comment section down below and let me know just how much quicker you can get your Golden Gun back if you're using Gunfighter. Next up then, one of the really cool things that comes with the Gunslinger subclass is a throwing knife. That's right, you still have like a normal melee with the Hunter, but you also get a throwing knife, and they're pretty cool. Again though, unfortunately, they have taken a bit of a nerf, so you do still need to put a few shots on people before you can use it as a straight kill, but I love the throwing knife. It makes for some seriously good fun in the Crucible. When you come to modifying it then, up first we have Circle of Life. Precision kills with the throwing knife reduce Golden Gun's cooldown. Next we have Incendiary Blade. Throwing knife catches enemies on fire, dealing additional damage over time. Again guys, we're back to that DOT. I look forward to bringing you an episode on that, especially with Rise of Iron just around the corner and the return of the Year 1 Thorn. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting episode that, guys. Make sure to come back for it. Next then we have Knife Juggler. Precision kills with throwing knife immediately resets its cooldown. Now this is actually really cool because you can start getting your throw knife back a lot quicker. If we move on then, we get very similar to the Striker and the Titan, where you had the Titan codexes, but these are called different things, but they work in the same way. They affect your armor, recovery and agility. So up first you have Path Forgotten, training focused on toughness and speed. Second you have Path Forbidden, training focused on battle recovery and speed. And finally Path Unknown, training focused on battle recovery and toughness. Now personally I feel very squishy when I'm playing a hunter, so I make sure that my armor is at full. I have ish recovery and ish agility. You know, like I say guys, it comes down to how you play. I definitely recommend if you're playing as a hunter you swap around, change them all up, see what you are comfortable with. Moving on again then, we have the next perk, Scavenger. Picking up ammo reduces the cooldown of your grenade and throwing knife. We have Keyhole. This is one I personally run on my Gunslinger subclass. Golden Gun over-penetrates and can damage multiple targets. Very good in PvP if you get players lining up, because you can take them both out. But the same can be said in PvE. You can hit one target and take the one out behind it as well. And on the last of the list for this drop down menu, we have Gunslinger's Trance. Precision kills increase weapon stability, stacks up to 3 times. Now this is actually very useful on weapons that have low stability. Again, I don't really use it because I tend to not use weapons with bad stability. I keep, getting other versions of them until I get, the perks that increase the stability for me. It means that I can use Keyhole. Moving on then, again we have another drop down menu for armor recovery and agility. We have Way of the Drifter, Way of the Fearless and Way of the Nomad. Depending on what one of these you equip, you can adjust your armor recovery and agility depending on what you personally want. And finally then, on the Gunslinger class, we have Chain of Woe. Precision kills increase weapon reload, stacks up to 3 times. This is personally, again, the one I run. Very nice having almost an instant reload. Over the Horizon increases the range of Golden Gun. I personally feel that there's not a lot of situations where I've ever been outranged on my Golden Gun, so I don't really use this one. And finally, on the Gunslinger subclass, guys, we have Gambler's Dagger. Gain an additional throwing knife. This can be good, especially in things like PvP. If you're good with throwing knives and you want to experiment with it, guys, I definitely recommend you give it a go. Let's move on now then to Blade Dancer. Blade Dancer is obviously what you will unlock at level 15. First of all, we have the Flux Grenade, an explosive grenade which deals additional damage when attached to enemies. I don't use this one. I don't find it too good. Obviously, it's the first one you unlock, so best is saved till last. Second, we have Skip Grenade, a grenade which splits on impact, creating multiple projectiles which seek enemies. And thirdly, in my opinion, one of the better ones, Arc Bolt Grenade, a grenade that chains bolts of lightning to nearby enemies. Moving on to the jump then, the Blade Dancer starts to get a little bit interesting. You have your normal jump up first, you have higher jump second, you have better control third, but the fourth one on the jump for Blade Dancer is, like I say, the interesting one, guys. It is Blink, a short distance teleporter that replaces double jump. Now, if you want to become a PvP sweat and, overpowered in the Crucible, this is definitely what you want to use. You basically vanish and reappear a few meters in front of you, to the left, to the right, whatever way you're holding a directional controller. Very, very good, but very annoying if you're a Titan or something else that doesn't have Blink. But like I say, guys, if you're in the Crucible, definitely, and you're using Blade Dancer, definitely recommend getting your head around Blink. Moving on to the super then, we have Arc Blade. Charge your blade with Arc Lightning and consume your foes with lightning. Now you can adjust this by the perk Showstopper, so you press RT during Arc Blade to damage nearby enemies. You have Razor's Edge Press RT during Arc Blade to unleash a destructive wave of energy that travels along the ground. And finally you have Vanish. Press RT during Arc Blade to disappear from sight. Now this is personally the one I use for PvP and PvE. Okay, it's really cool that you can pop your super, go invisible and kind of sneak up on enemies or other players in the Crucible without them being able to see you. Moving on then, we have Blink Strike. This is the Blade Dancer melee, a powerful melee attack with extended range. Now you can modify this with Backstab. Hitting an enemy from behind with Blink Strike causes significant more damage. Now this is personally the one I run. It's very nice to kind of Blink Strike over their head and hit them in the back. Almost a one-hit kill. We have Escape Artist. Hitting an enemy with Blink Strike grants brief invisibility. Now if I'm running PvE content, this is something I will use rather than the Backstab. And finally you have Fast Twitch. Reduces the cooldown of Blink Strike. Like I say guys, depending on what you're running, Crucible, PvE, it doesn't matter what character you run or what subclass, you definitely want to learn to be able to swap them around and know what's good for different things. Again then we move on to the Path Forgotten, Path Forbidden and Path Unknown. They, as you remember, swap your armor, recovery and agility around. Moving on then to Fleet Footed, increasing maximum sprint speed and extends slide duration. Slide duration? Slide distance, sorry guys. Very good in the Crucible, if you're using shotguns and things like that, and obviously you can sprint a lot quicker. If you're up against Titans, Warlocks, things like that, as a hunter, with your agility up, with this perk active, you will get places a lot quicker than any other character in the game. Moving on to Quick Draw. Weapons ready immediately. Now again, if I'm in the Crucible, this is one I will run because you can pull up and be shooting before the other character. And then we have Shadowjack, increases the duration of invisibility effects. Again, if I'm running PvE and the Blade Dancer subclass, this is the one I have. I love the fact that hunters can go invisible. It makes it good for team revives. It makes it good for getting yourself out of sticky situations instead of dying. Then we have another 3 drop downs that directly impact your armor, recovery and agility. We have Way of the Drifter, Way of the Fearless and Way of the Nomad. And finally, the last 3 drop downs on the Blade Dance subclass, guys, is Encore. Killing an enemy with Arc Blade extends Arc Blade's duration and increases its damage for a short time. We have Stalker, gain invisibility after crouching in place for a short time. Again, if I'm running PvE content, this is definitely what I run. Like I say, you've only got to crouch for about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, and you are invisible. Teamed up with, say, Shadowjack, which increases the duration of invisibility effects. You can go invisible for quite a long time. And finally, guys, we have Hungering Blade. Kills with Arc Blade and Blink Strike immediately regenerate health. Very good in the Crucible. Obviously, you've got other characters shooting at you as you come towards them with Blade Dancer. So definitely recommend running Hungering Blade in PvP. Right, let's move on to the final subclass for Hunters then, the Night Stalker. Now this is the new subclass that came with the Taken King. You will acquire this at level 25. Up first we have Spike Grenade, a grenade that attaches to any surface and emits a torrent of damaging void light. We have Void Wall Grenade, a grenade that creates a horizontal wall of burning void light. Now this is personally the one I run on my Night Stalker subclass. I love it. Damages the enemies as they come through. Really good for throwing on doorways and things like that. Finally, you have the Vortex Grenade, a grenade that creates a vortex continually damaging enemies trapped inside. This can be pretty good for PvE as well, but can also be used effectively in Crucible on flags and things like that if you're playing such game modes as Control. Again, with the jump, we have double jump, higher jump, better control, and triple jump. Moving on to the super, we have Shadow Shot. Tether foes to avoid anchor, slowing, weakening and suppressing them for you and your allies. Tether is absolutely amazing, guys, right? You fire it into enemies in PvE and it kind of chains them all up. You kill one with the certain perks after, you can split the damage between all of them, and you are an absolute orb making machine, right? It's incredible. Talking about the ways you can swap it around then, first of all we have Bloodbound. Tethered enemies explode when killed. Damage to tethered enemies is shared to all. Like I said, that is the one I run because you've only got to be shooting one of them and you're dealing damage to all the other AI stuck inside that tether. Then we have Black Hole. The Void Anchor has increased range, lasts significantly longer and can tether more targets. Now this isn't too bad in PvE again, but you then have to start making sure that you kill each enemy individually because the damage isn't shared across them. And then finally you have Quiver. Fire Shadow Shot up to 3 times. Void Anchors have reduced range. I've seen this used effectively in the Crucible very nicely, but it can also work quite nicely in PvE as well. But personally, PvE I would run Bloodbound. Moving on then, we have the melee, and this is a smoke grenade. So throw smoke to slow and disorientate those trapped in its cloud, okay? That is not to say it's just your melee, because obviously you still have your blade in your hand as a hunter, but it gives you another way to attack them as well. Then we have, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, Envenomed. Adds a toxin that damages enemies within the smoke. I don't use this one very often, to be honest. The one I use is the one that comes after, Vanish in Smoke. You and allies near smoke explosions vanish from sight. This can be used very effectively in both PvE and PvP. Finally, on the melee side of it then, we have Snare. Allows smoke to stick to surfaces, detonating when enemies are near. Again, this can be used fairly interestingly. I've seen it used in various different ways through Crucible and PvE. But again, guys, you know, all these subclasses come down to your personal preference and what you want to run. Next then, up again, we have the Armor Recovery Agility drop downs. We have Path Forgotten, Path Forbidden, and Path Unknown. Moving on again then, we have Courage of the Pack. Killing tethered targets greatly increases recovery and armor for you and nearby allies. Stacks up to 3 times. Light of the Pack. Killing tethered targets creates orbs of light for your allies. This is personally the one I run. Like I say, guys, it makes you an orb making machine. Then we have Lockdown. Grenade and smoke effects last twice as long, allowing stronger territory control. Never really played with this. If you have, let me know in the comment section down below whether you actually think it's any good. Again, another 3 drop down for Armor Recovery and Agility with Way of the Drifter, Way of the Fearless, and Way of the Nomad. And the final drop down 3 for the Night Stalker is Keen Scout. Sprint and sneak faster, gain enhanced tracker and the ability to mark targets you damage. Predator decreases Shadow Shot cooldown. Void Anchors fired from Shadow Shot become traps that stick to surfaces and wait for prey. And finally, Shade Step. Press double B to evade. Now, Shade Step is very, very nice in the Crucible. However, if you get the exotic helmet, the Graviton Forfeit, you don't actually need to have it selected as one of the special perks on the Graviton Forfeit, is it actually grants you Shade Step as well. So personally, on my Night Stalker, I run the Predator one. Because I run the Graviton Forfeit, I also get the Shade Step unlocked, means I have the extra perk. And that, guys, about wraps up the subclass video for Hunters. Like I say, Hunters are one of them things I really didn't play with for the majority of year 1. When I did play with them, I wasn't too much over keen in them. I fall in love with them in Taken King, Golden Gun or Gunslinger subclass in the Crucible, and Night Stalker for PvE. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Let me know any comments you have in the section down below. If you're new to the channel, then don't forget to subscribe. There are plenty more Destiny videos coming your way. And as always, Guardians, thank you very much for watching. Until the next video, I'll catch you all soon.